ibig sabihin, ang nakikita natin dito is, we borrow, but we are not funding economic transformation. So saan napupunta yung mga borrowings na to? Siyempre doon sa ayuda. And I think a big percentage of the borrowings are also going to political optics for the 2025 midterm elections. Makikita mo naman, di ba? Ginagastusan.
Pong malapit na ang eleksyon at patuloy na sinusuri ng taong bayan itong kalidad ng mga nagpapaboto sa pagkasenador at iba pang mga posisyon sa pamahalaan. Isa po kasi sa nagiging basehan nila ngayon, sir, kung paano ang approach ng mga kandidato para po marisolba yung ating mga problema sa Pilipinas, lalo na yung problema natin sa utang. Cycle po itong problema na ito. Pero sir, sa inyo pong pag-aanalisa, ano po ang inyong assessment sa fiscal management po ng bansa?
I think yung pinaka-latest na lumabas, di ba, na parang inalaw yung 91-day na loan. And for me, and that is on top of loans that have been already approved from outside. But this one, I think this is inside. Kaya lang, it's a 91-day loan. And for me, it's a red flag. In fact, I wrote about it. No! Para siyang panic na borrowing. And the reason why I say it's a red flag is because, ibig sabihin, yung pinaka-reason nun, that's about 25 billion na borrowing and 91-day treasury bill. Ibig sabihin, babayaran mo within the 91 days. At ito, at a higher rate. Mas tumaas siya this time from 5.546% to 5.573%. So ano ang ibig sabihin nito if we break it down? Ibig sabihin, pag mas mataas ang rate, ibig sabihin yung investor, mas lower yung confidence nila, yung mga nagpapautang. So they are charging more to lend, showing that they see na yung country is actually at risk or at risk na baka di makabayan or whatever. So ang reflection nito is that, the government probably needed the cash so much and they have to raise the cash fast. Number two, it's a short-term debt. So kung short-term debt siya, it could be a reflection of a cash flow problem, di ba? Or liquidity problem ng government. Imagine mo magbaborrow yung government ng 91 days, it's like parang panandalian lang siya. Kumbaga, you can equate it na parang salary advance. And, it also hints, as I said earlier, na may cash flow issues nga siya that creates a cycle of debt. Pag ito inulit-ulit, medyo delikado na. Pangatlo, more debt, less services. Remember na nagbabayad tayo ng 1.9 billion in daily interest payments. 1.9 billion pesos. That could be money already for education, for healthcare, and for jobs. Kaya lang napupunta siya ngayon dun lamang sa pagbabayad ng utang natin sa interest. So I feel like whatever the government is doing right now, ang bottom line nito is that, the way to actually pay off our debts is also another debt. And this is not sustainable anymore because it's going to impact yung services na ino-offer ng government. Pero sino ngayon ang eventually kakargo nito? Natural tayong mga taxpayers. Diba? So, kukunin eventually yan sa mga tax hikes, and it will be affecting a lot of the services of the government also. In the end, mga tao pa rin na magsasuffer talaga.
Pero sinabi po ng Pangulong Marcos Jr. na tumaas naman po yung GDP, 5.7%. Pinagmalaki niya yung paglago ng ekonomiya sa kanya pong administrasyon. Pero kung pagbabasehan po yung mga tinura ninyo, Sir Rob, mukhang iba ang nangyayari sa ground.
Yes, definitely. Well, GDP is not an absolute measure of how our economy is going, right? Kasi titingnan mo pa yung mga nangyayari at the micro level. I'm not an economist, but common sense lang. Pwede naman ang measure natin sa GDP, nandun, tumataas tayo. But it also doesn't fully reflect yung fiscal management na sinasabi natin. And this time around, we have to look at the micro level. And at the micro level, kung titingnan mo bigger picture lang. Ito opinion ko lang. At the bigger picture, ang nakikita ko lang dito is that, imagine mo, Bangko Sentral approved mga 6.29 billion in in foreign loans. So, and that is in dollars. That's approximately how much, di ba? Ang taas-taas nito, that's double the amount that was approved last year na quarter in 2024. So that's over, and right now, you have to look at it at a broader na trend. Di ba? Previously, we were told that there was already 4.64 trillion in borrowing since mid-2022 sa administration lang ni Marcos within the 32 months. And ang ratio nito, yes, sabihin natin, mataas yung GDP natin, but you have to look at the debt to GDP na ratio, which is now at 60.7% if you calculate that. That's approximate because that's the one I'm seeing right now. But that's also already at the edge of the danger zone kasi we are just an emerging market. And also remember na meron tayong lumalaki at nag-grow na 3 billion peso balance of payments deficit in Q1 alone of 2025, which reflects unsustainable external na mga imbalances dun sa fiscal management natin. Now, okay sana to kasi hindi naman masama mangutang, pero ang tanong, saan siya napupunta? Tama? Kasi kung titingnan mo yung iba pang mga sinasabi po at the micro level.
Nako, yan ang problema. Nangungutang para sa ayuda at sa korupsyon.
Well, titingnan mo yung statistics. Hunger rose to 27.2% in March 2025. And do you know that this percentage is the highest level since the pandemic? Understandable ang pandemic kasi nag-freeze yung economy. Pero may borrowing tayo and we're also boasting na okay yung economy natin, but our hunger rose to 27.2%. And there, in another research, 52% of Filipinos identified themselves as poor. Kasi pwede namang yung narrative ko sasabihin mo, we have already, alleviated people from poverty. Pero ang question is, ganun din bang nafe-feel ng mga tao? Parang ano lang yan eh. Parang di ba pag nagbenta ka ng isang produkto, hindi naman ikaw ang magsasabi na maganda yung produkto mo. In the end, ang magsasabi, yung mga customers mo. And leadership is also like that. You don't say that you are offering the best leadership. People will determine whether you are really the best or a good leader, right? Now, all of that, if you guys are familiar with Ray Dalio, he's saying it's also not just about the money because, if all the borrowings actually doesn't measure up to the promise that he did deliver, that is already a sign of, eventually sliding into a crisis because trust and leadership also has a factor in all of this. So, ibig sabihin, ang nakikita natin dito is, we borrow, but we are not funding economic transformation. So, saan napupunta yung mga borrowings na to? Siyempre, dun sa ayuda. And I think a big percentage of the borrowings are also going to political optics for the 2025 midterm elections. Makikita mo naman, di ba? Ginagastusan. May isang lola na na-meet ako, sabi niya, sa buong buhay ko, ngayon lang ako nakakita ng administration or ng government na siya mismo ang gumagastos para sa mga kandidato. So it doesn't, and also, saan din napupunta pa yung borrowing natin from debt servicing itself. So, sino maapektuhan nito? Of course, yung mga taxpayers. For sure, it's going to affect the strength of the peso. We will have a weaker peso eventually, perhaps. Tapos yung interest payment natin, kung titingnan natin sa national budget, more or less nasa 30% na siya. And so, ibig sabihin na to, hindi tayo liquid and all of that. So, paano kung magkakaroon ng global economic shock? Paano kung magkaroon ng interest rate hike? Paano kung biglang bumaba yung remittance ng mga OFWs natin? Ano mangyayari sa country natin? That's gonna be a debt crisis. And a debt crisis is not theoretical. It's the same crisis that unfolded in Argentina, Sri Lanka, as well as in Greece. So this is something we really need to watch out for. Kasi pwede namang lokohin ang narrative pagdating sa politics. But the numbers that are showing through our micro level, even at the macro level, kung titingnan mo, right? It's not actually showing that we are having a healthy economy as far as I'm concerned, and that's an opinion. Walang significant job growth, wala namang major na infrastructures na nangyayari. Tapos, wala ding debt transparency. Hindi pinapakita yung ROI ng lahat ng mga inutang na pera natin.
Tsaka sir, based sa latest na dato,
Saka napapansin natin, hindi transparent yung gobyerno ngayon sa paggastos sa pera ng taong bayan. Tapos pag pinuna mo, sasabihin, troll ka or fake news. Imbis na sagutin yung puna, babanatan ka pabalik.
nasa 4.6 trillion na yung utang sa Pilipinas. At kung i-divide yan sa atin, mahigit 100 million ng mga Pilipino, bawat isa sa atin, kahit bagong silang, mayroong babayaran na 129,470 pesos. Kung babayaran mo yung 14.6 trillion pesos na national debt. Sir, itong mga nabanggit ninyo na red flag, gaano ko ito makakaapekto sa investor confidence?
Oh, it's going to affect investor confidence. That's why binabawi nila ngayon sa narratives, di ba? So kung titingnan mo, for example, kasi connected yung investor confidence din sa trust and leadership. So now they also came up with a survey that actually looks like magic than truth dun sa survey nila na as if mataas yon. Ako tinitingnan ko rito, kapag kami narrative na nilalabas yung gobyerno natin, sino yung audience nila? Kasi at this point in time, yung audience ng masa ngayon, wala nang believe eh. Kung titingnan mo talaga, majority of the masa. But what is prepping up or what is actually supporting the government right now are the elites and also perhaps their arrangements internationally and also yung within government control, 'di ba? Yung institutional control na nangyayari. So itong lahat ng narratives nila na maganda yung trust rating, na maganda ang ganito, it is actually management of these particular audience na I just talked to you about. So, there is no need for to come up with a narrative like that if you're really confident doon sa standing mo politically and economically. So definitely it's going to affect our investors. Kasi, for example, ngayon, ang dami-daming tax hikes kasi nga kailangan, di ba? Tapos ang basa ko dito, yung mga taxes pang kinukuha probably are actually from industries that are fast-moving. It's going to affect the middle class for sure. Kasi meron namang pwedeng gawin yung mga nasa taas talaga eh. Right? And what if, especially when, even your savings and your investments are being taxed, what if ito yung mangyari? Yung mga investors eventually will protect themselves from this. They move their money outside of the country. Just for example lang, because there are a lot of ways in which they can do that na wala naman tayong access as middle class. But that is still money na mawawala from the country overall. So ano mangyayari ngayon? May ripple effect lahat siya so that eventually it becomes obvious dun sa mga nagpapautang sa atin. Dadating ang panahon, they won't have trust anymore. Hindi pa tayo dumadating doon.
No.
But if we're gonna go through with the same trend in the next 3 years, I'm sure wala pang 3 years, bagsak na talaga tayo.
Binanggit niyo po kanina yung debt transparency, no? At sir, election ngayon at 40% ng ating pong populasyon ay middle class, no? Ang lower class 15.5%. So majority po talaga ng mga botante middle class. Gaano ko ito kahalaga itong issue na ito sa fiscal management para po maging pagbatayan ng mga Pilipinong botante kung sino ang iluluklok sa Senado at sa mga posisyon sa gobyerno para magkaroon po yung binanggit po nyo kanina, magsusulong o magpupush ng debt transparency at maayos po yung fiscal management ng Pilipinas?
Number one, the reason why all of these could actually slip is because nobody questions. Medyo mahina yung checks and balances natin. Paano nakalusot, for example, yung GAA? Paano nakalusot yung mga mismanagements na ganito? Siyempre, because Malacanang and also HRR are consolidating their power. Nag-uusap-usap sila and nobody checks it. And now, why is this so important and why does this matter during the election? Because imagine, etong nangyayari sa atin ngayon, it's only because of the consolidation of Malacanang and also of Congress. But imagine if you bring in the third party, which is Senate, which is supposed to be our last legislative, firewall para magkaroon ng checks and balances. But imagine, kung pati yon kanila na, sino pa mag-check? Eh di wala na. Tama ba? So, ang talo rito, tayong mga mamamayan. So, kung ako, in my own...
Kaya wag po tayong papayag na manalo ang senatorial slate ng alyansa. Dapat Duterte po ang iboto natin para may check and balance. Kasi kung hawak na nilang HOR or House of Representatives tapos hawak pa ang Senado, sino pa mag-check? Magagawa na nila lahat.
Own opinion, we really have to vote, and our votes have to be against the Marcos administration. My point is, vote against it, not only so that they will not impeach, so that yung impeachment trial ni VP Sara would not be successful. It's not just about it. That's the short term. But the long term is, we are voting straight for Duterte.
Tama, isa pa yun. Pag nanalo ang Duterte senatorial slate, hindi nila ma-impeach si VP Sara.
Voting straight against the Marcos Romualdez candidates because we want to save this nation long term from power consolidation. Ngayon pa lang nakikita na natin, sobrang power consolidation, walang checks and balances, ipapasok mo pa ngayon, let's say solid, papasok yung mga kandidato nila sa alyansa. Ano mangyayari sa country natin, di ba? Wala na. So, in the end, we will be affected. But I'm so glad kasi may awakening na nangyayari sa middle class. In fact, I call them the thinking majority. And ang hindi na nagpapaloko yan. Kaya lang, the challenge right now for all of us is that we really have to make a decision to vote only for us, the mga awakened people. Vote for people who really represent our voice. Because the greatest force in this nation are not our political leaders. The greatest force in this nation are the people. We want to put people in place who are representing our voice. And the moment they stop representing our voice, then we should withdraw our support from them. Secondly, hindi pwedeng sang-ayon lang tayo. A lot of people are saying, hindi, para smooth lang yung leadership and administration. That is not what democracy is all about. Right? In a democracy, dapat sina-challenge yung mga decisions ng government because the government is supposed to serve the people. And it's supposed to be, at the bottom line of all of that is really a national development that is founded on what is fit for the people and not fit for the elite or the few. So, sa lahat po ng middle class ngayon, kahit yung mga masa, OFWs, ipaglaban po natin ang bansa natin. Iboto po natin straight Duterte, PDP laban, and all of those who have never spoken against the rest of Duterte, all of those who signed the impeachment of Sara, please don't vote for them. Don't bring them back to office. If we're really serious about this, then our decision for transformation and reform should begin with our votes. Na huwag kayong matakot, kasi sometimes nasa isip natin, what if they rig the election? All right, but my point is, just vote for the right people, vote for Duterte, vote against Marcos administration, and let this be your voice as if your vote and your life and the entire nation depends on your vote. All right? And let's say they rig it, we will consider it later. And that's for the chapter 2 of our battle for the future of our children and the future of our nation. But for now, let's just vote wisely and vote against everything you don't want na nakikita nyo sa government natin.
Magandang umaga po, Ginoong Rances, si Admar po ito. May isang Facebook post, no, ang isa sa mga gabinete po ni Marcos Jr. Hindi ko alam kung still siya pa rin ba yung nagpo-post nito. Pero nabanggit niya na kumbaga parang ang sinasabi kasi na ang sa panahon ni former President Rodrigo Duterte, marami daw mga inutang at ang kasalukuyang Marcos Jr. administration po ang siyang pasan-pasan nagbabayad dito sa mga utang na ito. Maaari ba ng gobyerno na ito ay lagi na lang isisi sa nakalipas na administrasyon kaya naobliga sila na magbayad ng utang, yung pera ng gobyerno nababawasan dahil kailangan bayaran yung inutang sa nakalipas? Though, nakita naman ng ating mga kababayan kung saan napunta po yung mga inutang po during sa past administration. Either sa panahon po ng pandemya, pang-responde po doon, at nagkaroon din ng Build program na hanggang ngayon ay kitang-kita naman natin yung naging resulta po sa nakalipas na administrasyon.
Yes. So I'd like to answer that from a leadership perspective. So Marcos Jr., nobody asked you to be president. You decided to be president, and you also convinced Sara to be your vice president. Now, being on leadership, and let's say, tama lahat ang sinabi ninyo, that it's because of the past administration, which I believe are lies, but let's just say tama ka doon. And let's just say you are assuming leadership. But now, he is blaming the past administration. That is no leadership at all. You are a successor of a past administration. So if the past administration created problems, that means by leading, you want to solve it. And when you only want to blame instead of making solutions, that's not leadership at all. All right? You are simply making an excuse and a narrative because you're incapable of leading the nation.
Nako, na real talk dito ang administrasyon Pag hindi na-solve ang isang problema, isisisi na lang doon sa previous administration. Si PRRD dati, ni minsan hindi niya sinisi yung previous administration. Pag may problema, sinosolve niya. Yun ang kaibhan.
So yun lang ang gusto kong i-address sa presidente natin. If they keep on blaming the past government for, whatever we're facing right now. We are now in the present, and as a leader, you have to face whatever is in the present and do something about it. Now, if you cannot do something about it, then fine. And that also shows why nagkakaroon ng free fall dun sa trust ng mga tao sa leadership niya.
Speaking of trust or tiwala sa kanyang liderato, si dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte ay mataas yung grado mula ng pag-upo nito, which is alam naman natin sa kada administrasyon, sa kakaupo pa lang na presidente, ay mataas talaga yung kanila pong rating. Pero bumaba po si FPRRD na may mataas pa rin na rating at kakaiba ito kumpara or kung ihahambing natin sa nakalipas na mga administrasyon. Sa tingin nyo po, kung talagang sinunod lang ni Marcos Jr. ang unang ipinangako niya, nung nagtandem sila ni Vice President Sara Duterte na continuity, mapupunta po ba tayo sa kasalukuyang sitwasyon at mapupunta po ba siya sa pagbagsak ng kanyang grado mula sa taong bayan, Ginoong Rances?
Alright, so let me address first that this is a responsibility ng Pangulo natin. Remember, people voted him and is, based on a promise na ipagpapatuloy yung sinimula ni Pangulong Duterte. Pero nakikita naman natin, hindi lang na hindi pinagpatuloy, tinanggal pa si Pangulong Duterte, ngayon may efforts pa to impeach Sara.
Ayan, real talk na naman. Kaya nga naman binoto si Marcos Jr. kasi pinangako niya na itutuloy niya yung mga proyekto ni PRRD. Imbis na ituloy, sinisiraan pa mga Duterte.
That was supposed to be a mandate he's accountable for kasi that's the promise that made people vote for him. We voted for him being assured na ipagpapatuloy niya. Ngayong hindi niya pinagpatuloy, that probably explains why the people are revolting, the people are protesting, because it is a promise that was never delivered in the first place. Now, for the question, whether bababa ng todo talaga kung pinagpatuloy niya lang. Ang question ko naman dito is, the intention might be there, but the capability might not be there because probably he cannot really measure up dun sa nasimula ni Pangulo.
Sa nakikita ko bilang ordinaryong Pilipino, kahit yung intention wala Wala ding capability.
Pangulong Duterte.
Opo, sa tingin niyo po ba sa mga parang tinututukan ngayon ng gobyerno, mga available na mga impormasyon sa government website, sa media nila at sa available din sa mainstream media ng mga hakbangin ng ating pamahalaan ngayon or yung mga tinututukan, tingin niyo po makakabawi pa tayo dito, lalo na't itong mga pinag-usapan natin patungkol sa utang, sa ekonomiya po ng ating bansa, ito po ay direkta na nakakaapekta po sa sambayanan?
Yes. Actually, for that question, kung makakabawi pa tayo, this is just my opinion. Again, I'm not a political expert. I'm not an economic expert, but I also use my common sense. What I can actually do is to read patterns right now because I'm a strategic foresight practitioner. In other words, I look at the patterns, we put them together, and then we create certain scenarios. So one of the scenarios here is that, hindi totally makakabawi, pero pwede naman with humility and proper leadership that listens to the people, I don't know if they can win back the trust of the people because that is important in leadership, particularly on a scale like this. Pero at least siguro aayusin lang. Instead of creating all of these narratives that I think, in my opinion, are based on lies, then dapat ang ginagawa nila, nakikinig sila kung anong sinasabi ng mga tao and they also do something about it. With regards to our economy, that I'm really doubtful of. And in fact, if you actually try to analyze what's happening in our economy and also with our politics against doon sa sinasabi ni Ray Dalio on how nations actually fall and how nations get into debt and eventually fall. Ang kailangan dito is reset. And when I say reset, it comes in different forms. It could be international intervention. It could be it could be too much inflation and a lot of other things. But for me, kung makakabawi, that I cannot tell and that I also doubt. Strongly.
Oh, no!
Opo, at
Kayo po, ano sa tingin ninyo, makakabawi pa ba ang Pilipinas? Paki-comment na lang po. Kung di pa ho kayo nag-subscribe, paki-click na po yung subscribe button, hit the notification bell para lagi kayong updated. Hanggang sa muli, salamat po.